Hey students, I know that we're at various points in the Bible, but I know you should have a Bible at home if you followed my instructions from the beginning of the year. Today we're going to be talking about the book of Ruth, and tomorrow hopefully we'll have a little quiz on it, on the stuff that we'll be talking about today. So if you're looking for the book of Ruth, it's right after the book of Judges in the Bible, and there's three main things that we want to know about the book of Ruth. First off, Ruth shows us that everyone's accepted in the kingdom of God. It's not just certain people. The second thing is it shows how a good family can survive a very, very, very barbaric time. And I think it's a good example of today how we as a family unit have to continue. Um, and then the main character in the story is Ruth, who is a Moabite, not an Israelite. So that's our three main focuses on the book of Ruth. So we're using as our source Clothed with the Sun, a book by Joyce Holliday, where she examines women in the Old Testament. And the first thing that she points out is that women's status in Israel could change just like that because of a death of a husband. Women were essentially considered property, and once a man died, the wife was given to his brother to try to have a child in that man's name. Um, of course, our friend Naomi is way too old to have children, and she knows that her status when she gets back to Israel, or even if she stays in Moab, will be that of a beggar because she is too old to have any children. Where is Moab exactly? Because I've heard over the years many different interpretations as to who a Moabite is. And Moabite is essentially where the Philistines were, across the Dead Sea from the kingdom of Judah. Um, Naomi's husband is Elimelech, and his name means my God is king. And her two sons are Mahlon. Mahlon's meaning is sickness, and Chilon's meaning is wasting. So we look at that from the Jerome Biblical Commentary stance that the names are there as significance, as a reason for what's going to happen, especially Elimelech, because his name means God is king. Remember, in the next book, which is 1 Samuel, people will reject God as king and will want a man to be the king over them. In Jerome's commentary, he talks about the family moving to Moab because Israel was probably in a famine. And at the time, Moab was not the enemy of Israel, but just a neighbor. With the death of her two sons and her husband, uh, this not only leaves Naomi without a family, but leaves her in a foreign land. So Ruth, though, she releases her two daughter-in-laws, Ruth and Orpah, um, and Orpah goes back to her home with the Moabites, but Ruth decides to stay with um, Naomi. And in doing so, she's going to have to cross a desert. She's going to have to cross a mountain. And she's going to be in a foreign land. She's going to become the foreigner. And since women cannot work, what Ruth does, who's very enterprising, is she goes through the threshing floor, and there she picks up the remnants, what's left over from the threshings, little bits of wheat, so that they can make flour from that and they can live off of that. Now Boaz is the guy that owns the threshing floor. He's actually related to Naomi, and he really thinks a lot of Ruth, especially since she's a foreigner and she's taking care of Naomi. So he orders that the guys are wasteful, that they leave more grain on the threshing floor for Ruth to pick up. Naomi hears about that and thinks that maybe Boaz might like her, so she tells Ruth to sleep on the feet of Boaz. Now, this was a Levitical custom, and this is, in a sense, the woman asking the man to marry her. But remember, it's all family related. And Boaz knows that he's not next in line to marry Ruth, but it would be another man. He goes to that man. The man refuses to marry Ruth. And so he marries Ruth, and they will be the grandparents of Jesse, who will be the father of David. And David will, of course, Jesus comes from the line of David. Probably the most well-known thing that Ruth is known for is the saying that's in the book of Ruth, which says, "Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." You hear that a lot at weddings and at different gatherings. There's even a song with that. But it's important to remember that this points out that everyone has the chance for salvation. So I hope that you guys will have a good day, and we'll try to have some questions for you to answer tomorrow.